Let me tell you something that may sound uncomfortable, but it is true. For many older adults, the hardest part of aging is not pain. It is not wrinkles. It is not even slowing down. It is the quiet. The quiet of eating alone. The quiet of waking up with no one in the next room. The quiet of going through a whole day and realizing no one really checked on you. And that quiet can change a life faster than most people realize. I have spent years caring for older patients, and I can tell you this with complete honesty. Living alone does not have to mean living in fear, confusion, or loneliness. But it does mean you have to be more intentional. Because what hurts people later often starts with small mistakes now. Small habits, small delays, small things that seem harmless at first. Then, one day, those small things are no longer small. That is what this series is really about. Not scaring you, protecting you. Because independence is a beautiful thing. But independence without structure can quietly turn into risk. And most people do not see it happening until it has already started. So in this first part, I want to talk about the mistakes that often show up first. Not the dramatic ones, the silent ones. The ones that creep into daily life little by little until your health, your mood, and your confidence begin to slip. And the first one is more dangerous than people think. It is isolation. Not just being alone. Isolation. Those are not the same thing. Some people enjoy solitude. They read, pray, cook, rest, and feel perfectly content. That is not the problem. The problem begins when connection starts to disappear. When phone calls get shorter. When invitations stop. When leaving the house starts to feel like too much trouble. When you begin telling yourself, I'm fine, even though deep down the days feel heavier than they used to. That is where things begin to shift. Because loneliness does not always announce itself. It does not always come in as sadness. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue. Sometimes it looks like low motivation. Sometimes it feels like brain fog. Sometimes it becomes irritability, poor sleep, or the sense that nothing sounds enjoyable anymore. And that is why so many people miss it. They think, I'm just tired. Or, maybe this is just part of getting older. Or, everybody slows down. But here is what many people do not realize. When isolation becomes a pattern, it affects more than mood. It can affect memory. It can affect appetite. It can affect energy. It can even change how much effort a person puts into basic self-care. I have seen patients who were doing fairly well physically, but once they became socially disconnected, everything else started slipping too. They stopped cooking real meals. They stopped going for walks. They delayed appointments. They stopped caring how the house looked. They stopped reaching out. Not because they were lazy, because they felt disconnected from life. That is the part people do not talk about enough. A person can look fine from the outside and still be slowly shrinking their world. First, they stop going out at night. Then they stop going out much at all. Then the phone gets quieter. Then the television becomes the main companion. Then the house starts to feel smaller. And eventually, even simple things begin to feel harder than they should. So if you live alone, I want you to hear me very clearly. You cannot wait until loneliness becomes unbearable before you do something about it. You have to stay ahead of it. That means building connection on purpose, not accidentally, not when you feel like it, on purpose. And no, it does not have to be dramatic. This is where people get stuck. They think staying connected means they have to become highly social, join 5 clubs, attend every event, and constantly be around people. No, that is not what I mean. I mean simple, steady human contact. A regular phone call with your sister. coffee once a week with a neighbor, a standing Sunday video call with your children or grandchildren, a church group, a senior center, a walking buddy, a volunteer shift once a week, a class at the library. Even a friendly routine at the same grocery store can help more than you think. The goal is not to fill every hour. The goal is to make sure your life has touch points, moments where another human being knows your name, notices your presence, and would realize if you disappeared. That matters. It matters emotionally. And yes, it matters practically too. Because staying connected is not only about feeling better, it also creates a layer of protection. People who hear from you regularly are more likely to notice if something is wrong. If you do not answer the phone, if you miss an appointment, if you sound confused, if you suddenly pull away, that kind of connection can become a lifeline. Now let me say something else that may surprise you. Pride keeps many older adults isolated, not because they want to be alone, because they do not want to feel needy. They do not want to bother anyone. They do not want to seem dependent. They do not want to admit the days feel long. So instead of reaching out, they stay quiet. Please do not make that mistake. Needing connection is not weakness. It is human. And one of the healthiest things you can do as you get older is stop treating emotional needs like something embarrassing. They are not embarrassing. They are part of staying well. Now the second mistake is one I worry about all the time. Neglecting your health because no one is there to notice when your routine starts falling apart. This happens more often than people think. When you live with somebody, there is usually some natural accountability. Someone notices if you skipped breakfast. Someone asks if you took your medication. Someone reminds you that your appointment is tomorrow. Someone sees when you are limping, coughing, or looking worn down. But when you live alone, there is often no witness. And that changes behavior. A person starts putting things off. I'll schedule it next week. I'll refill it tomorrow. I'm probably okay. It's just a little dizziness. It's nothing serious. But small symptoms do not always stay small, and delays have consequences. I have seen people ignore blood pressure checks, skip follow-up visits, stretch medication longer than they should, or dismiss warning signs because they did not want to make a fuss. That can become dangerous fast, especially because many serious problems in older adults do not begin with dramatic symptoms. They begin quietly. A little more fatigue, a little less balance, a little swelling, a little shortness of breath, a little forgetfulness, a little change in appetite. Easy to explain away. Easy to postpone. Easy to miss until they are no longer easy. So here's my advice. Take your health routines out of your memory and put them into your system. That means using a calendar, a written checklist, a pill organizer, phone alarms, appointment reminders, a notebook by the kitchen table, whatever works for you. Do not rely on "I'll remember," because life gets busy, because energy changes, because memory is not always dependable. Because one missed thing becomes 2, then 3, then 10. Your future health is often built on boring consistency. That is the truth. The walk you take even when you do not feel like it. The water you drink. The medication you take on time. The appointment you keep. The blood test you do not postpone. The symptom you mention early instead of hiding for 6 months. Those things matter. And let us talk about mental health too, because this gets pushed aside far too often. If you live alone and you have been feeling more anxious, more down, more numb, more forgetful, or less interested in life, do not automatically assume that is just aging. Sometimes it is grief. Sometimes it is loneliness. Sometimes it is depression. Sometimes it is poor sleep. Sometimes it is medication. Sometimes it is something medical that needs attention, but whatever it is, it deserves attention. You do not get extra points for suffering silently. Talk to somebody, a doctor, a counselor, a pastor, a trusted friend, a family member. Say it out loud, because once something is named, it can be helped. And many people wait far too long to do that. So, if you remember nothing else from this first part, remember this. Living alone can still be a good life, a full life, a peaceful life, a strong life, but only if you stay connected and stay engaged with your health before problems grow roots. That is where real independence begins. Not in pretending you need nothing, in building a life that supports you. And in the next part, I want to move into something even more practical, because what hurts many people is not just loneliness or delayed care. It is the hidden danger sitting inside the home itself, the kind of danger people walk past every single day, and most do not recognize it until after the fall, after the scare, or after the emergency. That is where we are going next. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you walked through your own home and actually looked at it like it could hurt you? Not decorate it, not clean it, not organize it, but evaluate it. Because here's something most people don't realize until it's too late. Your home, the place that feels the safest, is where most serious accidents actually happen. Not outside, not on the road, right inside your own walls. And it usually doesn't happen during something dramatic. It happens during something ordinary. Walking to the bathroom, reaching for a cabinet, stepping out of the shower, carrying something across the room. Just one moment, one small misstep, and life changes. I've seen it happen too many times. Someone who was doing fine, independent, living comfortably. Then one fall. And suddenly everything is different. Mobility changes, confidence disappears, fear creeps in. And here's the part that's hard to hear. Many of those accidents were preventable, not with expensive renovations, not with complicated systems, with small, simple changes that most people overlook. So let's talk about the first one, something almost nobody does. A home safety check. And I don't mean a quick glance. I mean walking through your home slowly, like a doctor examining a patient, looking for risks, because what feels normal to you may actually be dangerous. Loose rugs, clutter near walkways, electrical cords stretched across the floor, furniture that's slightly out of place. These don't seem like big issues until your foot catches one, and your body doesn't recover like it used to. That's all it takes. And lighting? This is one of the most underestimated dangers. If your home has dim corners, shadowed hallways, bathrooms without proper light at night, you are increasing your risk every single day. Because your eyes change with age, depth perception changes, reaction time slows, and in low light, your brain simply cannot process hazards fast enough. So, something as simple as adding brighter bulbs or placing a small nightlight along your path to the bathroom can quietly prevent a serious injury. Now, here's where it gets even more important. The bathroom. If there is one place in your home that deserves extra attention, it is this one. Water, smooth surfaces, tight spaces. It's the perfect combination for a fall. And yet, most people treat it like any other room. That's a mistake, because stepping into a wet shower without support is one of the most common ways people lose their balance. So let me give you a simple rule. If you have to steady yourself on the wall, the towel rack, or the sink, your bathroom is not safe enough. This is where small changes make a massive difference. Grab bars. Inside the shower, near the toilet, not decorative, functional, solid, reliable. Because in a moment where your balance shifts, you don't have time to think. Your body reacts, and what you reach for needs to hold you, not fail you. And let's talk about something people resist more than they should: sitting down in the shower. Many people hear that and think, I'm not there yet. But this isn't about weakness, it's about prevention. A simple shower chair can remove one of the biggest risks in your daily routine, and once you use it, most people wonder why they didn't do it sooner. Now let me shift to another area that surprises people: the kitchen. It feels familiar, routine, safe, but it's full of hidden risks: reaching too high, carrying hot items, moving quickly between surfaces. All of these can become dangerous, especially if something slips. So here's something simple you can do immediately. Move your most used items to where you don't have to reach, stretch, or climb. Because the moment you stand on a chair or lean too far, you're relying on balance that may not be as strong as it once was. And burns. They happen faster than people expect. So using longer-handled tools, keeping good oven mitts nearby, even choosing safer ways to heat food, these small decisions matter. Now let's talk about something modern that can change everything: technology. And I know, some people resist it. It feels complicated, unnecessary, even intimidating. But let me say this clearly: the right technology can be the difference between getting help and being alone in an emergency. A personal emergency device, something you can wear, a simple button. That's it. If you fall, if you feel dizzy, if something goes wrong, you press it, and someone responds immediately. That kind of safety used to not exist. Now it does. And ignoring it is not independence. It's unnecessary risk. The same goes for simple things like motion sensor lights. You get up at night, the path lights up automatically. No fumbling for switches, no walking through darkness, or even a smart speaker, something you can call out to if you can't reach your phone. These are not luxuries anymore. They are tools that protect your independence. Now, let me bring you back to something deeper. Because safety is not just physical, it's also about connection. People who stay in touch with others are safer, period. Because if something changes, someone notices. If you don't answer your phone, someone checks. If you miss a routine, someone asks. That layer of awareness can save your life. So creating regular check-ins, even something simple, is one of the smartest things you can do. Now, before we move on, I want you to think about this. If something happened to you tonight, would anyone know? And how long would it take? That question makes people uncomfortable. But it's the right question. Because the goal is not to live in fear. The goal is to live prepared. And in the next part, we're going to talk about something that quietly drains people over time. Not suddenly, but slowly. Your habits. The daily patterns that either strengthen your body or slowly wear it down without you noticing. And this is where many people lose control without realizing it. Let me ask you something honestly. What do your days actually look like right now? Not what you planned. Not what you hoped for. What really happens? Because this is where things quietly begin to change for a lot of people. Not in a dramatic way, in a gradual one. You wake up a little later than usual. You sit a little longer than you planned. You tell yourself, I'll go for a walk later. You skip one proper meal. You snack instead. You stay in your chair just a bit longer. And nothing feels serious. Nothing feels urgent. Nothing feels dangerous. But here's the truth most people don't realize until much later. Your daily habits are either rebuilding your strength or slowly taking it away. There is no neutral. And when you live alone, this becomes even more important because no one is there to interrupt the pattern. No one is there to say, Hey, you've been sitting too long. Did you eat today? Why don't we go outside for a bit? So the pattern continues, quietly, comfortably, until one day your body feels weaker than it should. Your energy drops, your balance feels slightly off, and you're not quite sure when it started. That's how it happens. Not overnight. Over time. I've seen this exact pattern in many patients. They didn't think they were doing anything wrong. They were just easing into comfort, but comfort, when it turns into inactivity, can become a problem. Because your body is designed to move, and when it doesn't, it adapts. Muscles weaken, joints stiffen, balance declines, circulation slows, and the hardest part, you don't feel it all at once. You feel it little by little, until simple things start to feel harder than they used to. Standing up, walking across the room, carrying groceries, even getting out of bed. Now here's where it gets dangerous. Because when something feels harder, most people do less of it, not more. And that creates a cycle. You move less, you feel weaker, so you move even less. And that cycle can take away independence faster than people expect. So let me give you something simple, something you can actually use. You do not need a complicated fitness plan. You do not need a gym. You do not need to push yourself in extreme ways. You just need consistency, small, daily movement. That's it. A short walk, even 5 to 10 minutes. A few gentle stretches in the morning. Standing up and sitting down a few extra times. Moving your arms, your shoulders, your legs. Keeping your body awake. Because movement is not about fitness at this stage. It's about function. It's about keeping your body capable. Now let's talk about something else that slips very easily. Food. When you live alone, eating can become optional. Not because you don't need it. Because the motivation changes. You're not cooking for a family. You're not sitting down with others. You're not following a shared routine. So meals become smaller, or skipped, or replaced with snacks. Something quick, something easy, something that doesn't require effort. And over time, your body starts missing what it needs. Protein, hydration, balanced nutrients, and this shows up as fatigue, weakness, slow recovery, low energy, sometimes even dizziness or confusion. But again, it doesn't feel dramatic at first, just a little off. So here's something I want you to think about. Eating is not just about hunger. It is part of your medical routine. Just like your medication, just like your appointments, your body needs fuel to stay stable. So even if you don't feel like cooking, have a plan. Simple meals, easy options, things you can prepare without stress. Because skipping nutrition is one of the fastest ways to lose strength without realizing it. Now let's go one layer deeper. Because not all habits are physical. Some are emotional. And these are often the hardest to see. When you live alone, it becomes very easy to fill silence with passive habits. Television all day, scrolling on your phone, sitting for long hours without realizing how much time has passed. And again, nothing feels wrong. It feels comfortable, but too much passive time leads to mental dullness, lower motivation, and sometimes even a sense that life is just passing by. That's when people start saying things like, "I don't feel like myself anymore." Not because something dramatic happened, because they slowly disconnected from active living. So here's a question I want you to ask yourself. When was the last time you did something that engaged your mind? Not distracted it, engaged it. Reading something meaningful, learning something new, solving a problem, practicing a skill, having a real conversation. Those things matter more than people think, because your brain, just like your body, needs activity to stay sharp. Now here's another pattern that often shows up quietly. Comfort habits. Eating more processed food. Sleeping irregular hours. Avoiding movement. Ignoring routines. Not because people don't care, because there's no immediate consequence. But over time, those habits accumulate, and they begin shaping your health, your energy, your mood. So instead of trying to change everything at once, focus on one small upgrade at a time. 1. Maybe it's a short walk every morning. Maybe it's drinking more water. Maybe it's cooking one real meal a day. Maybe it's limiting how long you sit without moving. Small changes, repeated daily. That's how stability is built. Not through big decisions, through small consistency. And before we move forward, I want to touch on something many people avoid talking about: your environment. Because your habits and your environment are connected. If your home is cluttered, if things are disorganized, if tasks feel overwhelming, it affects your behavior. You move less. You delay things. You feel mentally heavier. I've seen people who didn't realize how much their space was affecting them until they cleared just one area. And suddenly, they felt lighter, more in control, more willing to act. So even something as simple as clearing a table, organizing one corner, making your space easier to move through, can change your daily habits more than you expect. Now let me bring this together for you. Your independence is not decided in big moments. It's decided in small daily patterns. The things you repeat, the habits you allow, the routines you keep or ignore. And the truth is, most people don't lose independence all at once. They slowly drift away from it. And in the next part, we're going to talk about something even more personal, something that affects not just your body, but your identity, your sense of purpose, because this is where many people feel lost, even if everything on the outside looks fine. Let me ask you something a little deeper. When you wake up in the morning, what are you waking up for? Not what you have to do, what actually pulls you forward, because this is where many people begin to struggle, and they don't always realize it right away. It's not physical. It's not obvious. It's the quiet loss of purpose. And it doesn't happen all at once. It happens slowly. After retirement, after the kids move out, after losing a partner, after routines disappear. One day feels like a break. Then a few days feel like rest. Then weeks start to feel empty. And this is where things begin to shift internally, because purpose is not just something nice to have. It's something your brain depends on. Without it, motivation drops, energy drops, focus fades, and the hardest part? You can still look completely fine on the outside, but inside, something feels off, like you're just passing time. I've had patients tell me, "I don't feel sad, I just don't feel like myself anymore." That sentence matters, because it's often the first sign that something deeper is missing. Now here's what most people get wrong. They think purpose has to be something big, a major goal, a big project, something impressive. But that's not true. Purpose can be small, very small, but it has to be real. It has to give your day shape, direction, a reason to move forward. Because without that, days blur together, time feels heavier, and life starts to feel like something you're just watching instead of living. So let me ask you again, what are you waking up for? And if the answer feels unclear, that's where we start. Not with pressure, with exploration. Because one of the greatest opportunities of living alone is freedom. Freedom to choose how your days look. Freedom to rediscover parts of yourself you didn't have time for before. Freedom to try something new without needing anyone's approval. But here's the catch. Freedom without direction can turn into emptiness. So the goal is not just freedom, it's meaningful structure. Now let's make this practical. Purpose comes from 3 simple places: creating something, learning something, helping someone. That's it. You don't need anything more complicated than that. Let's start with creating. This could be anything: cooking, writing, painting, fixing something, building something, gardening, even organizing your space. Creation gives your brain a sense of progress. You start something, you finish something, and that feeling, even if it's small, matters more than you think. Now learning. Your brain needs stimulation, not passive input. Active learning, a new skill, a new topic, a new challenge. Reading something that makes you think. Watching something that teaches you, not just entertains you, because when your brain is engaged, you feel more alive, more present, more connected to the world. And then there's helping someone. This is one of the most powerful forms of purpose, because it shifts your focus outward. A phone call to someone who might need it. Volunteering, mentoring, helping a neighbor, sharing your experience with someone younger. You don't realize how valuable your life experience is until someone else benefits from it. And when that happens, something changes inside you. You don't feel like you're just passing time. You feel needed, and that feeling is powerful. Now let me say something that might surprise you. Purpose does not come from waiting to feel motivated. It comes from action, small action, repeated, because motivation follows movement, not the other way around. So if you've been waiting to feel like it, that's why it hasn't changed. Start small. One thing, one action, one decision, then build from there. Now there's another trap I want to talk about. Comparison. Looking at others and thinking, they're more active than me. They're doing more. They have more energy. That mindset shuts people down because it creates pressure instead of progress. This is not about keeping up with anyone else. This is about reconnecting with your own life, at your pace, in your way. Now, let's talk about something many people avoid: loss. Because for many older adults, the loss of purpose is tied to the loss of someone, a partner, a friend, a role. And when that happens, it can feel like a part of your identity disappeared with them. So trying to move forward can feel wrong, almost like you're leaving something behind. But here's the truth. Moving forward does not erase what you had. It honors it. Because the life you shared, the experiences you built, they're still part of you. And they can still guide how you live now. Purpose doesn't replace the past. It grows from it. So instead of asking, "What did I lose?" try asking, "What can I still give?" That question changes everything. Now, before we move on, I want you to reflect on this. If nothing changed in your daily life for the next 6 months, how would you feel? Better or worse? Because that answer tells you exactly what needs to shift. And the good news is, it doesn't take a complete life overhaul. It takes small, intentional changes. One step, one action, one decision at a time. And in the next part, we're going to talk about something that quietly builds pressure over time. Something many people don't notice until it becomes overwhelming. Your responsibilities, your home, your space. Because sometimes the life you're holding on to is the very thing that's holding you back. Let me ask you something that most people avoid thinking about. Is your home still taking care of you? Or are you slowly becoming the one taking care of it? Because this is where a lot of people get stuck, not physically at first, emotionally. You look around your home, and you don't just see walls. You see memories. You see birthdays, family dinners, voices that used to fill the space. And because of that, letting go of anything inside that home can feel almost impossible, even when it's no longer working for you, even when it's becoming harder to manage, even when it's quietly draining your energy every single day. I've seen this so many times. People holding on, not because it's helping them, but because it's hard to separate the space from the memories. And I understand that. I really do. But here's the truth that most people don't say out loud. Your home should support your life now, not just reflect your life in the past. Because when it becomes too much, it doesn't just create physical strain, it creates mental weight. You walk past things that need to be fixed. You think about chores you don't have the energy for. You avoid certain areas because they feel overwhelming. And slowly, your space starts working against you, not for you. Now here's where it gets more serious, because this isn't just about comfort, it's about safety. Cluttered spaces increase fall risk. Unfinished repairs become hazards. Overcrowded rooms make movement harder. And when your environment becomes difficult to navigate, your independence starts to shrink. Little by little, you stop using certain areas. You move less freely. You feel less confident in your own home. That's not how it should be. Your home should feel like a place where you can breathe, move easily, rest comfortably, think clearly. So let's talk about something that many people resist: simplifying. And no, that doesn't mean giving everything away overnight. It means asking a simple question. Do I still need this for the life I'm living now? Not the life you had 20 years ago. Now. Because holding on to everything, just in case, can quietly turn into holding on to stress. And it shows up in ways people don't expect. Decision fatigue, mental clutter, physical obstacles, emotional heaviness. Now let's talk about another layer: maintenance. A large home comes with constant responsibility: cleaning, repairs, yard work, upkeep. And when you're doing it alone, that responsibility doesn't go away. It builds, week after week, month after month, until even small tasks feel overwhelming. And here's what many people do. They push through it. They tell themselves, I can handle it. I've always handled it. Even when it's exhausting them, even when it's taking more energy than they have. That's not strength. That's strain. And strain over time leads to burnout. So here's something I want you to consider. What would your life feel like if your space required less from you, less effort, less maintenance, less stress? Would you have more energy, more time, more peace? For many people, the answer is yes. And that's where options come in, not obligations. Options: downsizing, moving to a more manageable space, getting help with cleaning or maintenance, reorganizing your home so it works better for you. These are not signs of giving up. They are strategies for protecting your independence. Because independence is not about doing everything yourself. It's about creating a life you can actually sustain. Now, let's talk about something even more emotional: letting go of things, objects, furniture, clothes, boxes that haven't been opened in years. This is where it gets hard, because it's not just stuff. It's stories, it's memories, it's pieces of your life. So let me say this carefully. You are not letting go of the memory. You are letting go of the object. And those are not the same thing. The memory stays with you, always. But the object, sometimes it just takes up space. Physical space and mental space. And when there's too much of it, it becomes overwhelming. I've seen people feel lighter just by clearing one small area, one table, one room, one corner. Not everything, just something. And that shift changes how they feel in their own home. More clarity, more calm, more control. So don't think of this as getting rid of things. Think of it as making room. Room to move, room to think, room to breathe, room to live. Now let me ask you something honest. When you walk through your home, do you feel relaxed? Or do you feel a quiet pressure in the background? That answer matters, because your environment affects your mind more than you realize. And before we move into the final part, there's one more thing I want to touch on. Because even if your home is safe, even if your habits are strong, even if you have purpose, there is still one area that can quietly create stress if ignored. Something that affects your sense of control, your confidence, your peace of mind, your finances. Because when that area becomes disorganized, everything else starts to feel unstable. And most people don't notice it until it becomes overwhelming. That's what we're going to talk about next. Let me ask you one last question. If something unexpected happened to you tonight, would you be ready? Not just emotionally, practically. Because this is where many people feel confident, until reality proves otherwise. And I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because I've seen what happens when preparation is missing. A sudden fall, a power outage, a medical issue, a moment where you can't reach your phone. And in that moment, what matters is not what you intended to do. It's what you already put in place. Because emergencies don't give warnings. They don't wait for you to feel ready. They just happen. And when you live alone, preparation is not optional. It's protection. Now, here's the mistake most people make. They think, that won't happen to me. I'll figure it out if it does. But when something actually happens, thinking clearly becomes harder. Stress rises, time feels distorted, and small problems can become big ones very quickly. So let's simplify this. Preparation is not complicated. It's a few key things done ahead of time. That's it. Let's start with something basic: communication. If something happens, who do you contact, and how fast can you reach them? You should have a list of emergency contacts written down, not just in your phone, somewhere visible, somewhere accessible, because if your phone is not nearby or not working, you still need a way to reach help. Now, let's go one step further. If someone needed to help you, would they know your situation, your medications, your medical history, your routine? These are things people often assume others know, but they don't. So having that information organized in one place can make a critical difference. Now let's talk about your home again. Do you have what you need? If you had to stay inside for a few days, food, water, medication, basic supplies, flashlight, backup power. These are not extreme preparations. They are simple, practical steps, and they remove uncertainty. Because uncertainty is what creates panic. Preparation creates calm. Now here's something people overlook: your phone. Is it charged regularly? Do you have a backup charger? Do you keep it within reach, even when you sleep? Because in an emergency, your phone is your connection to the outside world, and if it's not accessible, that connection disappears. Now let's talk about something deeper: financial clarity. Because this is one of the biggest hidden stress points for people living alone. Not because they don't have enough, because things are disorganized. Bills, subscriptions, accounts, paperwork. It builds slowly, and over time, it creates confusion, missed payments, unnecessary charges, stress that sits quietly in the background. I've seen people feel completely overwhelmed just because they didn't know where things stood. So here's something simple. Create a system, not a complicated one, a clear one. Automatic payments for essentials, a monthly check-in with your accounts, one place where important documents are stored. That's it. Clarity reduces stress, and stress affects everything: your sleep, your focus, your mood, your health. Now let's bring everything together, because what we've talked about in this entire video is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about being intentional, avoiding isolation, taking care of your health, making your home safer, building better habits, creating purpose, simplifying your environment, preparing for the unexpected, managing your finances. These are not separate things. They are connected, and together, they create stability. And that stability is what allows you to live independently, with confidence, not fear. Now let me leave you with this. Independence is not about proving you can do everything alone. It's about building a life that supports you, even when things don't go as planned. And the people who thrive as they age are not the ones who avoid change. They are the ones who adapt early, make small adjustments, and stay one step ahead. So don't wait for something to go wrong. Don't wait for a wake-up call. Start now. One small change, one decision, one step. Because the life you want is built in the choices you make today. And if this message helped you, then take a moment. Think about one thing, just one, that you're going to do differently starting tomorrow. That's how change begins.